Well, hello there. It's time once again for the Wine Stewards News of the Week. What's going on around here, and to bemoan once again the fact that we miss you so much. I wish we could have you up at the Wine Bar Mezzanine and hope that happens soon. We do think that we will be outside pretty soon. We'll be allowed as a bar, wine bar, to go out and out there and set up some seats and get you near the doorway, and so let's see what happens. That may be a week or two away for us. Depends on the color of our county as we go from orange to yellow and so on. But in the meantime, things remain exciting around here. Exciting because we keep finding new good things, and we keep coming up with ways to communicate with you and to contact and connect and taste really good wine with you. And the best way to do it right now seems to be these Zoom events. They've proven to be quite popular. We have a lot of participants, and we have yet another Zoom event coming up. We want to tell you that the guy we started with way back in June is returning for the fall version of his Italian wine Zoom event. It'll be importer Tom Kelly coming back on Friday, October 18th. So mark your calendars. I don't even have this sample package on the website yet, but it'll soon appear. You'll have the opportunity to buy a 6-bottle sampler, all Italian wines, 1 white, 5 red, and they'll all be discussed by Tom. I know that not everybody will be at home with enough people around to open all 6 bottles, but the point is you'll be set up not only with 6 really nice bottles of wine, but you will be enabled, you'll be enlightened about them by participating in the Zoom. So you could open those bottles soon thereafter and say, hey, what was Tom saying about this? You're asking each other, and oh, remember he said we should cook this with it. Why don't we do that tonight? And so you will ultimately be getting all 6 bottles open, I'm sure, and enjoying all 6 and hearing about them in the meantime from Tom Kelly, October, I think I said 16th, and I think I meant it. That's at 6 p.m. on a Friday evening. To remind me of that event coming up, remind me to remind you, I have this bottle right here. So this is an early arrival. This is one of the wines, one of the rarer wines that we had to speak for right now in order to get some that will be in that sampler. So this is the only white wine. The others will be delicious red with a very fall, winter orientation as far as style. But this white wine is called Pecorino, and it came from a producer named La Quercia. You don't really see La Quercia anywhere on this label. You see Pecorino, and you see an unusual vineyard named Santa Pupa. I guess it's named after some saint. I feel sorry for this saint that his parents named him Pupa, but, you know, I'm sure he got over it after a lot of ribbing. And the point is, this is from Abruzzo. So that's on the Adriatic coast. A little bit warmer water, and the vineyards there are super proximate to the coast itself. So we're near saltwater. In fact, sometimes people will swear that they can detect a little bit of brininess in a white wine from here. I think it happens in this wine. The grape is called Pecorino. That's just like the cheese. Pecorino that's made in different parts of Italy. Pecorino, the cheese, and the wine actually refer to Pecora, which is a sheep. So apparently the sheep like to wander through these vineyards and have a nibble or two of these grapes. And I'm glad they saved some for us, because this is a tantalizing wine that has much more to say than, let's say, your run-of-the-mill Pinot Grigio from Italy. So we love to show you things that are a little off your radar. Maybe you've never had Pecorino before. At Tom's Zoom event, you'll get to hear about that, this grape. And in the meantime, you can grab some. I'll put this on the website right after I'm through with the video, and maybe you can do a little practicing for that event right now. Beautiful sour ball, kind of a green apple sourness going on, a little bit whiff of smoke. There's citrus fruit, that's the obvious thing. But maybe a little salt, maybe even a little salt and pepper. Nice savories, nice green herb. It's tantalizing. And even without putting it in my mouth yet, I'm already getting hungry. That's what great Italian white wine does. It makes you salivate, gets the mouth working, and gets you heading for the cookbooks. It's good. My tongue is awake now. Very nervy, and yet nice fleshiness to it too. This is no oak, but it does have a nice substance or mouthfeel to it, in spite of never seeing a barrel. So look forward to this. This is our reminder to you and me that we have Tom Kelly returning once again. He is easily one of the very best speakers that we ever get on our mezzanine when we get to put our events together up here. And in the meantime, he's become a great Zoomer. He's fun to listen to. He'll always tell you what to eat with the wines that we're showing. We all end up very, very hungry. So let's look forward to that. Let's tell you we're also looking forward to these things called the holidays. And in spite of the crazy year that we've had, often a depressing year with events and, you know, one thing after another just kind of taking it down, I think the holidays will perhaps be more meaningful than ever, especially that thing called Thanksgiving that's coming up. With the holidays in mind, with Thanksgiving and especially in mind, I think it's actually my favorite holiday of the year for the wine business because people approach us genuinely interested in how food goes with wine. And that doesn't necessarily happen at Christmas or for any other holiday of the year, frankly. And, you know, we drink at all of our holidays, but we don't necessarily obsess a little bit more about whether or not the food and the wine will work well together. So I love the conversations that we have for Thanksgiving. Talking about Thanksgiving on October 1st. Why? Because I'm in the mood. I want maybe by the chatter to turn our weather colder, maybe even bring in a rainstorm. And frankly, it's time to plan. We're planning early, but we will soon be turning our rosé display downstairs into our turkey wine display. And it converts very easily because it turns out the rosés that remain on that display are things that do very, very well at Thanksgiving. A gentleman just prompted us to get this wine back on the shelf. This is a rosé from Spain that you might be able to tell by its slightly darker color that you can perhaps assume that it's going to be a little richer in texture and flavor. It is. This is made of Garnacha in Navarra, Spain. And good old John said, I'd like to get a case of that great wine. Are you going to bring it back in? And I said, John, I've been wanting to. I think it's going to be great turkey wine. So we'll get you your case, and I'm going to put 2 more downstairs. And hopefully I even have to order more before the big day comes. But this is to let you know that a rosé that's been a favorite of yours during the summer is going to just kill it with Thanksgiving dinner. So plan ahead, maybe start practicing now, and get some Monte Ori Navarra Rosado, made entirely of Garnacha. It's fun to say. Garnacha is the same as Grenache. The Spanish have a different name for everything, you know. So it's back. Beautiful label too, right? We could segue from that, from rosé by telling you there's yet another one. So we're kind of not segueing. We're remaining with rosé, but this is an announcement that we now have, after many, many years off and away from this producer, 3 wines from Unti back on the shelf. This is a producer in the Dry Creek Valley that grows all of their own fruit. And not everybody can say that. There's great control over quality based on growing your own fruit. You have one more way to ensure quality, especially if you're willing to drop a lot of fruit onto the ground before harvest. What that does is leaves the fruit that's left on the vines can theoretically achieve more flavor, more concentration, more complexity, because you've said goodbye to half of your crop or whatever the number was. But they do a lot of crop thinning here at Unti, and so the prices are not under $20 anymore, but the wine has gotten so much better in the last couple of years. So I'm so pleased to have Unti Rosé back on the shelf. This uses Grenache and Mourvedre, and it is one of the best rosés that we've bought all year. And ironically, it shows up right now, like as we're hitting fall, right? But big deal. This will be yet another great Thanksgiving wine. With Thanksgiving in mind, and to announce yet another Unti wine that's arrived, let's tell you about a great variety not all of you look to, but to say that you will all love this Syrah by Unti. It's one of those Syrahs that has a little bit of the intellectual and quite a bit of the yummy as well. So it's not stupid wine that does one thing and not the other. It has complexity, but it has indulgence as well. So we hope you will get into this Syrah. If you still want to hear more about Unti, I've got one more piece of news. Downstairs, a bottle that I did not bring up for the video is Grenache Blanc, one of the greatest Grenache Blancs from California I have ever enjoyed. How did they get there? I imagine it's by farming and by saying goodbye to a lot of the crop, but leaving it on the ground. And the Grenache Blanc from Unti is not inexpensive. It prices in the mid-20s, but I'm going to put it on the website, and I know you more thoughtful white wine drinkers are really going to get a kick out of it. And once again, that Grenache Blanc is Thanksgiving white wine. It's got enough flesh on its bones to do well with anything on that table. I'm already getting hungry, man. I haven't had turkey in too long, I guess. Check out Unti. We're so glad to have them back. Thoughtful grower producers in the Dry Creek Valley. So there's that. Wanted to say one more thing about the holidays. All of these bottles up here are meant to remind me to just tell you about things that Kathy and I have been thinking about all week, and how we ought to alert you now. We ought to start getting in the mindset that this will obviously be a different holiday season for everybody. Everybody's culture is about to be adjusted. Maybe not all of your friends and family are going to get together for obvious reasons this year physically. And so we have to kind of think out of the box, and maybe the Zoom idea is going to apply to you. We could create something that you can send out to all your family members, maybe 2 or 3 bottles of wine, a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays kind of a pack, and then you could all get those bottles open together with a Zoom event and talk about them. If you want to hire me, I am for sale, and I could do a half an hour with you at a certain price. And for a little bit more, I could do a whole hour while we and you go through with all of your significant others, Zoom fashion, a nice lineup of wines per certain theme. Maybe I get my map of Spain back out. Maybe I do what I did last weekend, where a whole group went out down to an Airbnb in Santa Barbara County, and on the way they bought a case of Santa Barbara County wine from us with the promise that I would be talking to them last Saturday for half an hour about Santa Barbara County in general and the wines that they bought in particular. So let's start to get creative now, and I want you to think that way now, because the bugaboo will be shipping. I think our shipping system will be stressed more than ever before, in as much as it's become an Amazon-oriented world and UPS is busy enough already. Man, think about it this year with all of the people not getting together and therefore saying happy holidays creatively by sending something to you and you and you. And you gotta be ready. Think early and often about getting your gifts figured out. But what is this in front of us? This is just another indication of something we might not drink all year long, but all of a sudden get in the mood for when it's holiday time, when it's cold finally and rainy. That's when port is all of a sudden interesting. Somebody was just pointing out downstairs, a visitor to the store said, okay, I see you've got very nice $15 Ruby port. What do you have that's better than that? And I said, well, I've got vintage port. Vintage port is the high water mark. Only 3 vintages per decade are declared. All the port guys kind of agree, this is a great year, we are declaring. Vintage port starts at like $65 or $70 these days and goes way up from there. So we've had amazing vintage port come in, and yet not everybody's in the market. I needed something in between. We tasted this with Taylor 2 days ago and said, send it. This is a late bottled vintage port. So it's kind of one rung down in quality from real vintage port. This saw 4 years in barrel, and it is gorgeous. It's from a slightly cooler year in the Douro Valley. Uses mostly Touriga Nacional and Touriga Franca. And it's got some of the other guys thrown in there too, but those are the main 2 grapes. The main thing is it's fortified. It is somewhat sweet, but besides sweetness, it's delicate at the same time. So it's not one of those overbearing ports. It's super classy. I'm gonna make sure. How about that? Goodbye, Pecorino. Hello, Weir's Late Bottle Vintage 2008 port. It's nice that this has a little bit of time on it. That's always, instead of just one big ball of jammy fruit, when you have port with a little bit of time, it doesn't dry up chemically necessarily, but it seems like it does. It's a slightly drier than overly sweet right when it's open thing. It's gorgeous. It's got the anticipated chocolate smells, but there's a very lifted fruit, black fruit, maybe even a little bit of menthol. It's quite complex in the nose. There's that earthiness we expect from port. Elegant, balanced. It's not over the top jam. This is ready. This will price somewhere in the mid-30s instead of being up there at the vintage port level. So we've solved our little inventory crisis by bringing in that in-between. Yeah, you can buy up for this. It's a special time of the year. I know you're getting in the mood, aren't you? Bring on the chocolate. All right, so there's that. I bought this out because we have it, and you've possibly never heard of it. And a lot of you have bought the red wine from this very same producer. So this is a special dessert wine maybe it's the time of the year when we start thinking of that. I can promise you that at Thanksgiving dinner, if you still have it in you to drink a little bit more wine with dessert, this will work with virtually every dessert that you do, whether it's pecan pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie. All of those do amazingly well with this famous dessert wine. I say famous because you can find this in any of your wine Bibles and wine books. Muscat des Baumes de Venise is one of the world's great dessert wines. It's made in the Rhone Valley, about 20 minutes drive away from Châteauneuf-du-Pape. It's a village right next to Vacqueyras and Gigondas. And whereas these folks make very nice red wine, their village is historically better known for this dessert wine made of Muscat, very slightly fortified with a little bit of brandy to kill the fermentation. So I think we're at like 14% alcohol, not quite at the higher alcohol of the port I was just describing, but the nose of Muscat, for those of you who have even just eaten the grape, you know Muscat is special for this fragrance. You have that grape in your mouth, you're still smelling this perfume. If you had Moscato di Asti from Italy, that bubbly, it's made with essentially the same grape. But this is done in a richer, slightly late harvesty, and ever so slightly fortified style. Muscat des Baumes de Venise from Domaine de Bernardin. It is lovely, you gotta get into it. I highly advocate. And I think I am also putting it in front of you because we swear that one of these days we'll be back to teaching wine classes. We really want to get back to that original idea of the series of wines of the old world, where we had to finally say we're canceling what we had planned to do earlier this year, refunded everybody's enrollment dollars and said sorry, but we plan to do this again sometime. This is just, you know, this is the kind of thing we might brush on when we teach you about wines of the old world. What, you've never heard of Muscat des Baumes de Venise? Now you have. And you got the lesson a little early, didn't you? All right, final topic, and a very current one. We've all heard about the fires going on up in the Napa Valley and in Sonoma. It's crossing into both of those major wine appellations. We've already been kind of screwed over by smoke taint. It's a whacked year. These are folks who have lost, in fact, their winery building. The actual winery at Barron's, formerly known as Barron's and Hitchcock, up there on, I think, Spring Mountain, is totally destroyed. In the meantime, we had fallen in love with this particular Cabernet. It has just been submitted to our Red Collector Wine Club. As soon as I heard the news about the misfortunes of these particular people with whom we've had a relationship for a very long time and hope we continue to somehow, as soon as we heard the news, we called their broker and said, is there any way you can reserve a good amount of this Cabernet that we can continue to carry all the way through Christmas? Just put aside, if you would, like 30 cases for us. This is not inexpensive Cabernet. We don't necessarily easily sell 30 cases of $60 Cabernet. But number one, it's delicious. Number two, these people have just taken a beating, and there's a delicious way to participate in helping them out. So do consider the Anchor from Barron's family. This is $59.99. I'm about to put it on the website. You Wine Club members can apply your discount code to your purchase on there and all of a sudden get this for $53.99. I can tell you that anybody who likes ripe and yet well-made, balanced, and yet fruit-forward, saucy style Cabernet will flip for this. This is wine that's well worth the money per its category. It's always gotten great scores from Robert Parker's Wine Advocate and so on. But beyond that, the Wine Steward felt like it was worth putting into our club even before we heard of the very sad story applying to them, and stories per other wineries too. So we're just isolating the love to this one wine in this video, telling you that this is delicious Napa Valley Cabernet. It seems like now that we're hearing of an upcoming shortage, or at least the bad news about Napa, all of a sudden, I do really want to drink a nice bottle of Napa Valley Cabernet to be supportive. And just because, like, oh man, I'm getting the shakes, I feel like I might not be able to for a little while based on shorter supplies. But check out the Anchor. It's going to be on the website. We will have cool days soon. We will be in the mood for dark, rich, yummy Cabernet. And this one should tug at the heartstrings and also please the palate. So do consider. Thanks so much. Have a good week. Stay cool. We have a couple more days of heat, then things are going to calm down a little bit. We're setting up right now for tonight's Zoom event where we're going to do sparkling wines. So I'm going to sit right back down in this seat again in a few hours and have some bubbles with some of you. So thank you to you who are participating. And if we're getting this video out in time and you're tantalized, you can go to the website and get that sampler. You can jump in here real quick. There's still some available, and you can join us tonight for some bubbly. Need to celebrate something, right? Let's figure out what. Thank you.